Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine. I'm blessed by the presence of Ro Bless. Welcome, man.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for having me.
Of course, dude. You know, we've been chatting it up as I've been setting up and getting ready today. Tell me, like, how would you describe yourself to somebody who's never heard of you?
How would I describe myself? As an artist or just as a person?
You know, give me both. Give me like what you do a little bit so that the people, you know what you do. And then let's get into like how you describe yourself as a person. You know?
Okay. So yeah, I mean, as an artist, I make music, I rap, I sing, I make beats, I engineer, mix, master. I kind of just try to have my hands in everything, honestly. You know, and I'm trying to add to that. I'm doing videos and stuff now as well. So I kind of got my hands in everything, brother. So I guess as a person, you know, I'm just a confident, motivated, you know, humble person, and just always trying to work hard, man. I think every day is a blessing, and, you know, I just try to put my best foot forward every day.
I think we have, like, that in common, too, because I was scrolling on the gram today just kind of, like, prepping for this interview, and, like, I seen your story, like, believe in yourself, and I was like, you know what? I do believe in myself, and so does Ro, dude. Where does your motivation and your confidence come from?
I think it just comes from, you know, like I said, putting your best foot forward every day, man. I think if you can just wake up and you just grind and you work hard, like that just naturally comes, you know, because you can look back at the day before you go to bed and say, you know, I did my best today.
Yeah, and I think you got that dog in you, dude. That's how I would describe it. But it's like, sometimes I'm like, yo, why am I like this? You know what I mean? Like, why do I stay up till 2 a.m. working on this? Like, where does this like passion come from? Where does this like, why do I do this to myself?
Right.
Why do you think you do it to yourself, dude?
I mean, it just comes from the love, I mean, specifically of what you're doing, you know? I mean, I've been making music as long as I can remember, and I just look at it as it's just a part of me now, you know? It's just something I do and that I actually enjoy to do. And when you enjoy to do something, it's like you don't realize it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, shit, I'm still up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I fell in love with the process so heavy, which I'm grateful for, because the process isn't always the prettiest part, dude.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes stuff. And I think that, you know, you kind of got to give yourself a pat on the back, you know, yourself, because not that you're looking for credibility from anyone else, but you know how much work you're putting in. And I think that's, like I said, that's going to give you the confidence every day that you wake up, you know?
Yeah. Do you put a lot of pressure on yourself?
Yes and no.
Talk to me about it, dude.
Yes and no. Definitely, like when I have a lot of projects coming up, or I've been doing a lot of videos from like certain companies and stuff, like to post about plugins and things like that. And I'll take on a lot, knowing like, all right, I'm going to really have to lock in like all night. But I think it's good, you know, it fuels the fire. And, you know, sometimes I'll literally just not answer my phone, you know, so you kind of got to have that balance of like, you know, you don't want to burn yourself out, but you kind of want to give yourself a lot of extra work sometimes, because, you know, it feels good when you complete a task.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that, because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with 2-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. are some tips you have for dealing with pressure? And I'm asking you from like a personal standpoint because I feel like currently at this particular moment in time, I have so much pressure on myself, dude. And it's all self-induced. So I'm not like complaining out here, but I'm just like, yo, what are some tips that like maybe could help a listener or AKA me right now?
I think, just doing other things that you like, whether it be going to the gym or playing sports, if you like doing that, like trying to do something that's completely unrelated to all the work related stuff that you have to get done. Just to take your mind off it and like, make you feel good that you did something for yourself. Not that the music stuff isn't for you, of course, but just something completely aside from all that,
I think that was great advice too, because I do go to the gym and it literally actually becomes like the most important hour of my day, dude, where it's like, if I go in anxious, if I go in feeling terrible, which not that I feel terrible and anxious, but I just like, I'm looking at my to-do list of things to do, which again, self-induced, my fault.
Right.
But then I'll leave there feeling good. And, like, for example, I'm coming straight from the gym now and I'm feeling very like reset for this podcast, and coming in, Lord, if I filmed it before, you would have like seen me looking like a fucking squirrel on this podcast. Like, bro, sit the fuck down, dude. All right. So I'm like, how's it feeling? Like going all crazy. But, let's talk about you, dude, because I really want to unravel the layers of who Robless is.
Right.
One thing I know is that you got Pro Tools at age 16.
I did.
Is that where the journey began? Talk to me.
So, the journey actually began a little bit before that. Me and my brother used to make a lot of music, and we used Audacity back in the day. This is like years before Pro Tools.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah. Free program. We had the Rock Band game on PlayStation 2. I used that microphone. I made like a little soundproof, what do they call it? The pop filter. And it was just a way to like hear ourselves back, just to record and hear what we're doing. It wasn't nothing, no mixing or nothing like that. And we would make little mixtapes and like, rap to like instrumentals off of LimeWire back, because there was no YouTube to MP3 back in the day. It was all LimeWire.
I miss LimeWire, dude.
Me too,
LimeWire had such a charm to it. You didn't always know what you were getting, but I also found a lot of cool music that way too.
Yeah. I mean, there was this one specific beat I probably made like 100 songs to. It was like a Swiss Beats, like Jurassic Park theme song beat. And it was just so fire. I don't know why, but we always would remix that beat. It started there. And then, I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to keep using industry beats. I want to try to figure out a way to either make my own beats and record myself. So that's when I bought Pro Tools with a little keyboard, and I just started making beats. And, they were terrible, obviously, but I was able to put something together, make songs to them, and it kind of just evolved over time from that.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, dude. And I actually encourage anybody at any age where it's like, your first whatever you do is going to suck, dude. If you go look at my first podcast, even this, and that's not even that long ago, like, you hear me just interrupting. I forget what I was like, either or yang, and like, yeah. You know what I mean? I watch it back, I'm like, ugh, but the only way you can get better is if you get started, right?
That's it, man. You gotta go for it. I think a lot of people get stuck in that stage of they want to do it, but they don't know either where to start or how to start, and I think just the biggest key is just to start. You're not going to know like what to do until you actually do it over and over and over again and just figure it out. That's the best way to learn with anything.
Do you remember having like a turnkey moment early on in your career where it's like, oh, this is cool, like I could actually do this?
I think when I booked my first session in my parents' house in my bedroom, and like I had blankets hanging up in the closet as a booth. That was kind of like, okay, I could make some money from that. Not even that it's about money, but okay, I can work with other artists and maybe make something out of this.
You remember who the artist was?
My friend, actually, who I still record with, his name is Cardio Cove. Shout out to Cardio Cove. He's a singer. He's a dope singer. He was like the first artist that, we would come over, and he didn't have to pay me for the session. I was going to do it, but he threw me like $40, for like a 2-hour session. And we would make music together and stuff too. So that was kind of like the point of like, okay, maybe if I just really put my best foot forward and just learn how to do this a little more, I could start, charge an artist to do sessions and stuff,
Yeah. So going further down the timeline, how do you start to elevate and bring it to the next level?
Just constantly working with different people, man, and like my mixes definitely were not good back in the day, and I'm still learning to this day. I'm not saying I'm at the pinnacle top of like I know everything. There's still things I'm learning. But I just think that you got to fall on your face in order to learn, and that's literally anything in life, no matter what you do.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. So was there like an artist or somebody that you worked with early on that, might have changed your perspective, or there was like a session you had where you're like, oh, maybe we got something here?
Yeah, I mean, my like I said, my friend Cardio Cove, I had, like I said, my brother, I would record a lot of his stuff, because I definitely took more on the engineering role.
I was going to ask, were you dropping a lot of your own music at this time?
I was, and that was really the main focus at first, and it still is for the most part. I'm still making my own music, but it kind of just got to the point where, I was almost kind of needed by other artists because they didn't really know what to do. So I kind of just hopped in that role of, okay, I'll just do your stuff. I'll make your beats or record you, mix it, whatever you need. And it kind of just like turned into that,
It's I think we should talk on this too, because this is like something I relate to, because I've been instrumental in a lot of artists' career behind the scenes, where it's like, whether I'm doing their videos, like producing for them, like working with them. And it's like very easy to get caught up on that side of things, where it's like, you don't have time for yourself. And now I'm at this battle where it's like, I still have all these like, clients / friends of all the years, and they're still like trying to do stuff with me, and I want to do the thing for them, but I'm also just in a complete scramble where I actually end up letting them down, because I'm just like, I am so sorry. I just like need to get this done. Like, I need to work on this 50 States project. So it's a little bit selfish, but like at the same time, like, I think they know in my heart that if I could do it all, I would. And so my point, I'm going to bring it to you, is like, is that something you feel like you deal with? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
Definitely. It's definitely something I deal with, because, and same for you, I'm sure it's always come back to how you started, and I started as an artist, and then everything kind of engineering, making beats just kind of happened, and like working with other people. And that's where it gets tough, because when you do get super busy, and you got taking on all these clients and taking on all these jobs, you're right. Sometimes you feel like you're letting someone down by not having the time for them, straight up. But at the end of the day, like, you got to make time for yourself, because if you're not feeding your own soul, it's, what are you even doing it for? And then it's almost just like you're not really enjoying what you're doing anymore. Then it feels like work. And you're almost like, what am I doing? And it definitely, even to this day, there's some times where, I don't have any sessions, and I'm like, all right, this is my day. I'm going to lock in, I'm going to make some music. Boom, my phone rings, somebody needs a session, and it's like, what am I going to say? No, And a lot of times I'll take it. I'll do the work, because the artist needs me. And it's as simple as that.
But a lot of it does land on timing. You know what I mean? Right. I think like it really kind of depends. And at least I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure you can relate, where it's like, you might have like a free moment where you're like, okay, we actually could make this happen today. Right. But like, I got that project done earlier than I thought I would. So let's lock in right now.
And if you got the time, you're going to make the time for someone, because the more available you make yourself, it's only going to help you in the future, So I don't ever try to like close myself off from working with people, but it definitely does get tricky to try and still work on your own stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in a phase of that even right now, because I think the last song I dropped personally was probably 5 or 6 months ago, and it's crazy how much time has gone that quickly, and I'm almost like, wow, like I really need to get in the booth,
Yeah.
Because there's just me personally, like I do get fulfilled from doing everything else and engineering and making beats and doing videos or whatever, but there's still no feeling that compares to like recording and listening back to like your own music.
Your own thing, dude.
It's just one of those things that like I'll never get tired of. And it's just simply making the time for it,
Yeah, and I think a big thing back to everything we were just talking about, like with working with other people, is just communication too. Yeah, like I think that's probably number one, because, if I have a feeling I'm letting someone down, I will literally just call them, you know what I mean? And just be like, yo, honest to God, this is where I'm at. Like, that if I could do it, I'm overextended. Should I have said yes if you need this by this day? Probably not. But like, just know that I'm doing my very best.
And I think people will respect that though.
Yeah, I think so too. And they see like, as they see like on social media and stuff, which we should talk about too. Right. But like, they see like they see I'm in an absolute scramble, dude. Like it's like you know what I mean? I can't even fake it, because it's like they just see it online. They're like, oh, he's doing a lot right now,
right.
And doing the most.
Dude.
But I want to ask you one question, then I want to get into a little bit of the social media side of things. What was the most hectic or crazy studio session you've ever had?
Hectic or crazy?
Like something that stands out and you're like, yo, it could be the worst, could be the best.
I mean, I would. Hectic is a funny word, but I would say there was one session that I had with an artist that was opening up for Stephen Cannon, like in Wallingford or something. And he was like, yo, I need a session with Stephen Cannon. Can we come through, do the verse? And they came, and then like 30 people rolled in right after them. And I was like, I am not prepared for this. It was crazy. Dude's like, yo, can we roll up in here? Can we smoke in here? I got dudes talking over my shoulder. I'm trying to mix the song.
No, you can't, but you're going to do it anyways.
Exactly. I'm trying to record this dude. I got this dude talking to me over here. It was, I don't want to say it was a nightmare session, but it was definitely like a learning experience. I'll tell you that.
If 30 people came in here right now, I'd be devastated, dog. Like,
and the room was smaller than this. So it was definitely, it was an experience. I'll say that. And I was like, never again.
Yeah. But sometimes like those, they make for good memories though.
They do.
You know what I mean? What's like, what's another story that you have from just like in your career that's like maybe a standout moment? Because I think on the come up, you get stuck in these like out of pocket weird situations. Do you have like one of those stories that you could share? Like, I think for me, like sometimes it's like stories of getting burned. It's stories of like getting stuck in a position that like, why the hell did I say yes to this? You know what I mean?
I don't know. In that situation, I don't know if I ever really put myself in a situation where I was kind of thinking like, why the heck did I do this?
You're better than me, dude.
I'll try to assess certain situations before I actually agree to anything. I don't think there's ever been like any moments where like I'm kicking myself for or anything like that, because like I said, even that session, for example, like it's just funny looking at it now.
Yeah.
In the moment I was like sweating and like not knowing what to do, but I don't know. I guess like a turning key point is I think every session or every person I work with is kind of just a small turn, in the overall turning point, if that makes sense. I think every day is like another step forward. I don't think there's ever really been kind of like an aha moment for me where, that I think is kind of projected my career any further than just each day,
Yeah. And you know what? Like, I do want to talk, I really do want to bring it social, but I have one more thought.
Yeah. What do you
where
got?
it's like, sometimes you need to know when to play your part.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like, because sometimes people will be like, oh, I saw you with this person. Why didn't you ask him for that? Because I was like, well, in that instant, I was like the photographer, and like, it'd be weird for me to ask that person that.
Yo, can I show you this beat real quick?
Right. It's like, you kind of have to like know your place. And like, I think I've been able to get far in my career by one, knowing my place, and just, there's a time and place for everything.
Definitely.
So it's like, and somebody who wears many hats like yourself, what do you have to say on like, just knowing your place? And like, have you had a thing where it's like, it might've been cool to like ask this person to do something, but you're like, oh, right now I just got to fall back and just kind of hold it down on what I said I'd hold it down on.
Yeah, definitely in the engineering seat and then being an artist. I run into that a lot. Not that people don't like want my advice on certain things, but just as like the engineer, when I'm, recording people, I try not to give too much advice, because I don't want people to think like, oh, this guy's an artist and his ego is whatever and he thinks he's better than me. Because some people will just think that way, So if I'm the engineer, I'm the engineer. Unless somebody specifically asks me like, what should I say for this bar? Because sometimes artists come in and they're just freestyling, trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, I think just it's true. You have to like know your role in a certain situation. Like if I'm the engineer, I'm the engineer. I'm not going to like ask to hop on your song or try to pitch you a beat mid-session or something, and vice versa with anything else. Even if I'm producing a song for someone and they specifically only want a beat from me, and maybe their career is 10 times further than mine, I'm not going to be like, can I get a verse on it?
Yeah. And it's better for you if it's that way too, because eventually they're going to like come across your stuff and be like, yo, what? This is the guy that was the engineer. He was quiet in the set. Like what? He said 3 things to me. You know what I mean? Like this is that guy. You know what I mean? So
it happens. Yeah.
I think that's like a better way to go about it too. Like people will find out. So you don't need to be the dude that's like, yo, I make music too.
Yeah.
Yo,
constantly boasting your stuff.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let your stuff talk for it, because people and the right people will find out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about social media, dude, because I am in love with your content. You're somebody who I think does it well. What are some things that you would recommend to somebody who's trying to up their social media? Like what has worked for you?
Well, obviously depends on what niche you're in, but as an artist, I think it's just finding ways to relate to people, and I think I kind of found that way to relate to like the producer and engineer community specifically, and by just making funny stuff, like just stuff that I've run into, or even stuff that's just like super exaggerated that actually never happened, but like it's just a funny scenario. And yeah, I guess advice is just, just be yourself, and I like being funny. I like making people laugh. And I like when people tell me that, they liked my video because it made them laugh. Like if I can make somebody smile and make them happy, like that's a win for me, and I think making comedy videos that has to do with music, that's what I love to do is music. So if I can relate to people on that aspect and network with other artists by doing that, I mean, it's only going to help my career at the end of the day,
Can you tell me an opportunity that's come from some of your social media success?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten free plugins, free gear. I landed a sponsorship with Pro Tools. Like
the Infinity Stones are just stacking up,
yeah,
dude.
man. I mean, and it's all just from putting yourself out there, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing with social media. It doesn't have to be like, what I'm doing or what you're doing. Sometimes people just have to find what works for them, and like those opportunities will come. Like it took a long time, like for Pro Tools to reach out to me, but you have to be consistent.
How's that moment feel from, like being Pro Tools, like first of all, buying Pro Tools at like a young age, like 16 is insane. Most people, what are they? They're not buying fucking Pro Tools at 16, dog. Right. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't even know what 16-year-olds are spending money, but I guarantee you it's not Pro Tools, dude. But, to having that moment early on in your life, to them alley-ooping and just being like, oh.
Here's a year free of Pro Tools. Woo. Yeah, I mean, at 16, and shout out to my dad, because my dad's always been the guy, like, you got to work for what you want in life, so... Like at 16, when the second I turned 16, I got a job. Like I wanted my own money, and that's what I spent my money on, because I just believed.
What was that 16-year-old job that you did?
Oh, I was working at the mall, this place called Million Snacks. I was making smoothies and stuff for people,
nice,
handing churros out, making like $7 an hour back in the day.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do what you want, though.
That's it, man. And I always looked at stuff like that. It's an investment. If I invest in Pro Tools, I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna make beats, and I'm gonna be way better in 10 years, 15 years. And yeah, for it to come back full circle and like me be in contact with Pro Tools, it's like I never would have thought that would happen.
Yeah, I'm smiling over here because like I look at things as an investment too, but sometimes I'm like. I'm looking at everything as an investment. I'm like a puppet of myself. Yeah. Babe, that's an investment. You know what I mean? Like, Like the ridiculous, like.
I think the best one you've made is that little Courage the Cowardly Dog thing sitting over there.
Dude, sometimes I feel like Courage, dude. I have to solo it out into the scary unknown, but someone's got to do it. And he always comes out on top, dude. Shout out Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Shout out Courage.
But yeah, like, let's talk about growing up a little bit for you too, because now I'm curious, because you said your dad has been someone who like motivated you, like how are your parents, and like, because sometimes there's like a stigma when you get into music, right? And like, I feel bad for kids because they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do music, and their parents are like, no, you're
going to school,
you are gonna be a lawyer,
right,
and like I feel bad, you know what I mean? I'm grateful that my parents were always like very supportive, but there is the other side, and it's like. Dude, I've seen artists that have been successful, killing it, making money, but then people have talked them out of it because
it's sad.
It's devastating, dude. So it's like, I don't know where I was going with this, but it's like, what are your thoughts on just like doing music at an early age and, parents like talking about, and how are your parents is kind of what I was alluding to. I don't know where I got off the train tracks there.
I'm picking up what you were putting down. I mean, definitely, like I said, my dad, instilled like, you got to work for what you want. I'm not going to give nothing free. Like, I had to pay my own phone bill at 16 years, type of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I like that, dude. That instills that hard worker in you.
Right.
And you know the value of $1,
right,
dude.
Exactly. But yeah, making music, I mean, I don't know if my parents ever really like saw it as going anywhere. I'd say, not that my dad wasn't supportive of it, but my dad was always like the, getting your hands dirty type of guy. Like he owned his own masonry company for a while, and like he didn't want that for his kids. He wanted us like corporate, suit and tie and good job, and not have to bust your ass like at work. And so I think the music thing was like, maybe he kind of looked at it as a distraction. But fast forward to today, it's like, I'm still doing it. So it's like, I think my parents just kind of accepted that that's who I am. And like I said, they were supportive of it. I mean, I had the studio in my bedroom with the closet and like having people over.
They haven't really known another you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just something I've always done. I mean, music's always just kind of been in my household. Like, not that my parents were like musically inclined or anything, but they've listened to all different types of music. My dad was always singing and stuff, and I think that kind of just like me and my brother, for example, we just wanted to do it too, and it's just something I just kept going with, and it's crazy to even think I've been doing it for more than half of the years I've been alive, and it's just something I really don't ever see myself stopping,
What's something that you've learned along the journey that's like really stuck with you?
I think that, you got to just disassociate from results, I think is the biggest thing. Because of the fact I've been doing it for so long, and I think 16-year-old me was probably like, I'm going to be rich in 5 years, and then when that 5 years came and I was still broke, then I was like, I'm going to be rich 5 more years from now. And then that next 5 years came. And then it just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I just got to disassociate from the results and just do it because I love to. And that's it,
And I'm sure when you did that, that's when some of the results started to come.
Right. Because you don't focus so much on it. When you're so hyper focused on something, like it doesn't come as naturally, And I think when you kind of just do it and that's it. And like you're more relaxed. That's when like, the universe just starts attracting more to you because you're just like, whatever, if I get it, cool. If not, it is what it is. Like I'm still going to keep rocking out,
I think it's a great way to look at things. And honestly, what you're saying right now is hard, dude.
It is.
I like just got to this like Mario star mode right now where I'm like, dude, I've been posting like 3 times a day and just so detached.
Yeah, you're going crazy right now.
But just like, I couldn't care less. I don't care if it's 8 people viewing it with my mom being the only comment or like 1 million people and everyone just, hype about fucking Macy's being clean.
Right.
Dude, I like don't like, cause I just think I got to this place and it's been hard. Like even for me who's like, doing all the time. And I'm sure like you too, like it's hard to get to the place where it's like, you care, but you don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where
it's a
like,
fine line. It's definitely a fine line, because I'm not saying I don't care at all. Like, of course, like if I drop a song, I want people to listen to it. Or if I drop a video, I want it to do well.
But it's not the main reason why you're doing it.
Right. It's just something that, you do. And like realistically, it's like, it's so crazy because social media has kind of just put this, this thought in our head that like, if it doesn't break thousands of hundreds of thousands of views, it's terrible, rather than just looking at it as 1,000 people is a lot of people.
Hell yeah, dude.
Or 100, even 100 people in this room,
and it only takes the right person to see it.
Right. Exactly. Like, or even if it's not the right person, if it's just somebody that it affects in a positive way, that should be the win. And that's it.
You're doing it.
Right. Or if it's a funny video, made someone laugh, cool, job done. If it's a song that I made and someone really liked it, they saved it or whatever, and it's only one person, that's a win. Like you're putting yourself out there. And like you said, all it takes is just that one right person. But even if it's not the right person, that's just one more fan you're constantly adding to your catalog ultimately.
Yeah. Earlier in this, you said your journey's been kind of gradual, but do you feel like you've had like a solid moment of success where you're like, this is like a big thing for me?
Yeah, I think it kind of happened social media wise, I would say, like around COVID when TikTok really started going crazy and people were blowing up left and right. It's kind of when I was like, you know what, I'm going to start just doing these stupid studio videos. And just doing that stuff really kind of just propelled getting eyes on my page, which ultimately helped, helped my streams go up, helped like my beat sales go up. And artists coming more to record. So I would say that period of like 2021-ish to like now of just posting content definitely propelled me from where I was in 2019, for example.
No, that makes a lot of sense too. And something that I've had a couple producers on, but I've never once spoke about beat sales on the podcast, which is kind of a crazy thing if you think about it.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that and like things that have helped you sell more beats? Because I'm sure there's a lot of producers out there that are trying to like place their stuff, and maybe some advice or something that you've learned along the way where you're like, dang, I wish I knew that when I started, but like something happened that made you,
right.
course correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it goes back to what I was saying before. It's just putting yourself out there, man. Like if you're not posting, especially in today's world, like you're not going to get many opportunities, you know? And I think a lot of producers that are either just starting up or maybe early on in their journey, they think that those 13 likes on a post is like, oh, my beat's trash. Like I shouldn't post
It
anymore.
doesn't equate.
It doesn't, because I mean, I've posted videos or stories of a beat, for example, just randomly, and it gets like 100 story views, but there's one person that's like, how much, you know?
That's all it really takes,
That's
dude,
all
to
it
make the
takes.
sale.
Right. It's just posting it, putting yourself out there. And the more you post, the more opportunities you're going to have. It's just a numbers game. It's sales, you know?
Do you remember like the first video you posted where it was like, oh, something's happening here? And do you remember where you were?
I do. I was, the first video I posted was a skit of me like opening the door and just like looking at the camera and saying like, what are you doing? Like, and just slapping it saying, go work on music. And it like went viral for some reason on TikTok. And I was like, okay, so I guess the artist community feels like they're scrolling a lot and then we need to work on music. So I just started speaking more to the producer and the artist community by just making videos like that where I'm like talking to the camera or just doing a funny skit. And I just started snowballing after that, you know?
Yeah. At what point are you starting your record label? Because I know you have a label. Like, is this
Yeah.
before? Is this after?
So this is back in 16-year-old me, man. I mean, this logo is, you know, I started my label NVR Beats, which is the E, the R, and the B, and then the RB for Robles. You know, that's just like a thing I just started when I was young. Really had no direction, like no plan.
It sounds cool though. I'm glad you picked something like a lot of people don't pick a cool name early on, dude. They get stuck with like some crazy ass name.
Right,
like,
right.
yo, I made it when I was 15, you know what I mean?
Slick Boy Records,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, it's just, and NVR is really just my initials. My first name is Nico, my middle name is Vincent, and my last name is Robles.
Okay, I was gonna ask you where Robles comes from, but now
Yeah,
that
so my
makes
last
sense.
name is Robles, Robles, and Robles came from, I was at the studio when I was 18, and back in the day, my name was Chronic, very cringe, but that was my first rap name. And my uncle actually was like, I hate when people say our last name is Robles, it's Robles. And I was like, that's kind of fire. That's going to be my artist name.
Yeah, that's fire, dude. That is a good story.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your music, dude. Like, take me through like one of your favorite songs that you released, and you know maybe the time in your life around it.
So I have like over 100 songs out right now on all platforms.
Is there one that stands out? Like, if I say this right now, is there one that like stuck in your head?
There's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple. I think that one of my favorite records I've made is a song called I Am. And it's more of just like a positive, like self-talk kind of record. And I think I was at a point in my life where, you know, I wasn't really super positive. I was going through a lot. My grandmother died and I was going through like just a lot with that. And, you know, I just needed to kind of pull myself out of a funk, you know, and as artists, that's just what we do. You know, we express ourselves when we make music. And, you know, that song actually resonated with a lot of people. And so I ended up making a music video actually to it this year. And just, you know, it's one of those things that, like I said, it's one of those songs where people can resonate with and hopefully help them change their mentality if they're going through a funk or if they just need that boost of self-confidence, you know, because it's called I Am, as in saying like, I am great, I am happy, I am whatever XYZ that you want to put yourself in, you know?
Yeah, and especially being a creative, dude, I know I've been there. Thankfully, not so much recently, but those funks can be dangerous, dog.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that something that you deal with a lot?
Yeah,
or have
I mean,
dealt with?
yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but it happens, man. I mean, you know, being an artist, it's kind of lonely unless you're surrounded by other artists, you know, and not a lot of times that's not the case, you know. I've been fortunate to work with a lot of artists because I've engineered a lot, so I've made a lot of friends that way. But it wasn't always like that. You know, you kind of got your hometown friends. They don't really understand, you know, because they're always going to look at you as their friend from high school. They can't see you as this like
next level thing.
Yeah,
dude.
it's just the way it is. So I've definitely gone through it, but I've learned at this point in my life how to pull myself out of it quicker. You know,
What have you done to do that? Because I think that could be something hugely helpful for somebody that might be in a funk themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about how you talk to yourself, you know, in your head. It may sound corny, but
no, I believe this 1,000%, dude.
It's as simple as that. You know, because it's so easy to think negatively, but it's hard to think positive, especially when you're going through shit, you know. It really starts with how you're talking to yourself. And like I said, going back to doing things for you. Me personally, I like to go to the gym. I started golfing 2 years ago. I play golf now. Yeah, I play softball. Just doing things that, you know, make you happy, you know? And when you're going through shit, it's a lot harder. Don't get me wrong, but you have to speak to yourself positively. Like, you know what? I am going to pull myself out of this, or I am great. Like, I'm going to do great things. I am doing great things, you know? And I think a lot of people, it's hard for them to say that to themselves when they just don't believe it, you know?
Yeah, no, as you're saying this too, like, I definitely have those moments too where I'm just like, yo, get it together, dude. Like, get it the fuck together, bro. Like, you need to, like, you got so much on your plate. Like, if you're trying to do everything that you set your mind to, you just got to do it. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to, like, be a cheerleader for you right now. Like, you know, and sometimes I'll lean on my homies and I'll be like, yo, like, give me a pep talk real quick. It's something, dude. And I think that's another thing, having a good circle around you too is so important. And it's like, and that's one thing I love about moving back down here to Stanford, where it's like, you know, I do have a lot of people around me too. And I think having people constantly around actually make the whole process easier, because it is a lonely sport, dude. I mean, like, all the people I came up with and, like, our friends are, like, I'm still friends with them, but there's, like, a huge disconnect because it's like, you know, they're in, like, a corporate world, and I'm like, sometimes they don't understand that it's like, yo, you're going to work right now. You're going to go shoot a podcast at 9 p.m. Like, I'm going to bed, dog. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, but that's sometimes what it takes in the sacrifice. It's like, because I'm trying to bring things here to the next level, you know? So, and there's other ways to do that. Like, you know, you don't have to, like, run yourself into the ground like I do, but that's just what works for me.
Yeah, of course. And everything, some people just have to find what works for them, you know? It's easy to, like I said, it's easy to beat yourself up sometimes, you know, especially when something bad happens, or, you know, maybe something didn't go your way, like that you thought was going to happen and it didn't work out the way you thought. It's very easy to just get down on yourself. It's like a natural human reaction to things, you know? But how quickly you bounce back from that is going to make all the difference.
So crucial, dude. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's okay to get down, but you can't stay down.
Right. Yeah, we're human. Like, we're going to experience negative emotions. We're going to be sad sometimes. We're going to be angry. But it's just crucial how quickly you bounce back from that.
Is there a struggle in your career that you'd be willing to share, and, you know, how you overcame it?
A struggle in my career. I think I struggled at a period of time of actually, like, being consistent, you know, especially, like, early on in my career. I would make, like, 20 songs and, like, release them, and then I'd just fall off the grid for, like, 3 years, you know, and it's all, every time I've done that, you just start back from square one. You know, you've lost kind of all traction, and, you know, you're kind of starting over, you know. So even me saying before, you know, it's been 5-6 months since I've recorded, at least I'm still doing other things to kind of propel my overall career. I'm still posting, I'm still making videos, I'm still actually making beats. And it's just, you know, it was hard for me to be consistent, because when early on, young-minded, I'd drop stuff and it just really wouldn't do anything. So I'm so attached to the result, and you kind of just think internally like it's a me thing, you know? And I struggled with that a lot, you know, just being self-conscious really about it. And then, like I said, I just detached from the results, and, like, now I just drop. And sometimes I don't even, like, promote it or announce it. I'll just drop, which is probably not the best, like, strategy, but it's fulfilling for me, and that's really all that matters, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to get it out there, dude. Like, I always call it ripping off the Band-Aid. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if you've been in a cycle of, like, not dropping, it almost doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you promote it. Just get it out there just so you can, like, get back into the rotation.
Right.
But I think, you know, detaching from the results has been something that's crucial too, because you just don't, like I said, it's not that you don't care, like, you obviously care, but it's like, it just doesn't make it the main focus, and it keeps you consistent. And one of my homies sent me a video recently too about consistency, and it's like, it's kind of what's consistent for you, because there was an example of, like, this dude who drops a video and they're really, really high quality, but he does one every 3 weeks. You know what I mean? But they're sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, there's the other side where it's like, these algorithms, which like, you know how they are. They just feed me Seymour fucking endless. Need to be, and that's something that like, if you can come up with a plan, like I think you should fire out as much as you can while keeping quality and making it make sense. Like
Definitely.
I wouldn't, don't stick it for the wall if you don't think it's like something sick. But like if you can figure out, and that's where I think like, the skits where it's like, you're probably thinking of like, oh, it'd probably be funny if we did this. You know what I mean? And it becomes so natural to you where you're like, it doesn't even feel like you're putting in this work on social media because it's like, yo, stand there by the door, say this. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, like you said, you got to find your own form of consistency. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week. As long as you're in some form of consistency, like you said, that one guy posting once every 3 weeks, like,
but it's fired.
It works for him too, So it's like you got to just, like you said, you got to find that balance, man. Because sometimes, like I'll go a week without posting, but it's like I don't want to post just some bullshit. I don't want to post just anything just because I haven't posted. So it's just finding that balance of like, what comes fluently for you in terms of whatever you're posting or your music or whatever. And, what do the people want? Like you got to sometimes give the people what they want, most of the time, actually. And, if sometimes I'll post a video of me rapping one of my songs and it doesn't do shit, but then the next day I'll post a skit and it gets 1 million views. It's like, not that I'm only going to lean into that, but, sometimes you got to feed what your algorithm wants.
It's the truth, dude, because it's like, here I am doing a song with an artist from each of the 50 states. And it's a project that's done well by me. I'm happy with how it's been doing, having fun doing it for the most part. But then, I posted I'm cleaning Macy's and 500,000 views, dude.
That's how it is, man.
It's like the people like what the people like. And it's like, there's some people who may have got bitter and been like, yo, these fucking people want to see me clean Macy's. What about my fucking 50? I'm doing a song with artists from each of the 50 states. What about check me? Look at it. But the people like what the people like, dude. So just enjoy that they like Macy's. You know what I mean? Just be thankful that anything is happening.
But it's still it's still something you're posting. So it's still you. It's still going to bring eyes to your page.
And I genuinely care about it too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's a big tip that like, just make sure whatever you're posting, you actually care about, where it's like, because if it's not something you care about, it's going to be hard to sustain that.
100%. Yeah. And like you said, like I said before, if you're not doing something you actually enjoy to do, it's going to turn into work. You know?
And it translates too, because people it's like, it sounds like an obvious thing, but I truly believe that people can see right through it. You know what I mean? They can see if it's so forced, they can see it's like, but if they're like, yo, like this, why the hell is this dude doing this Macy's thing? Like he like looks like he cares. It's like, because I do care. Shit is disgusting. You know what I mean? It's like,
you see these streaks?
Yeah. Like, what are we talking? Like, why is this even a conversation? Like, look at it, dude. But the point is just like, staying true to yourself is the most important thing you can do on social media.
You have to, man. And just don't think about it so much. I think some people just overthink shit so much. It's like, I can't tell you how many times like I've shot like a video and it doesn't even have to be my music. I could have taken like an hour to shoot a video, edit it, do a bunch of crazy cuts, and like it flops, And then I'll do a one take video of like whatever sort of skit, and it goes crazy. It's like,
it's how it happens.
It's just the way it is, man. And I think you gotta do everything. You gotta just post whatever it is that you're making, whether it's a one take, whether it's an edited video, because you just don't know what's gonna do well. It's like, I always just look at that stuff as like playing the stocks, It's like the more you throw into the stock market, it's only going to go up, really, at that point. It's a stock market that doesn't go down, It's like same thing with your songs. The more songs you put out, it's like, boom, your stock is only going up.
My analogy is throwing darts, dude. Eventually, you're going to hit some bullseyes.
I love that. Yeah. Same type of concept, dude. I mean, the more darts you throw, the better chance you have to hit that bullseye.
Another one, dude, scratch-offs, dude. Eventually, you're going to scratch that winner, dude. Because it's funny though, music it's not like a full gamble, but it is a little bit because you're betting on yourself. But it's like, I always think too, because like not everything that I do makes money. Surprise, surprise, dude. I lose money on like a lot of the things I do. But I've been telling people it's like the things that do make money, like kind of equate for the things that don't. But I'm like, I'm not over here like tracking the metrics like as probably as good as I should be, where it's like, all right, we're up there 10% today. You know what I mean? Like we've lost on this. Like, let's not do that again. I just kind of, sometimes you just got to go off like what your gut says, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's good to pay attention to those things, of course, because you want to see what's working and what's not working. So that way you can lean into more of one or the other. But yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, it's just one of those things you got to see what sticks, you know? And I think the more stuff you put out there, it's only going to help you. Like, how can it hurt you, you know?
Yeah. And as a studio owner, owning a studio is expensive.
It definitely is. Yeah, for sure.
You know, getting the equipment. And for me, I'm still, you know, trying to build it up, but it's like, you know, I've just been investing little and little over time, dude. Like, you know, was there any point like when you were like, yo, I'm going to do this where you were nervous or like, you know, what was the feeling or no? Because you already did it gradual. You know?
I mean, I did, you know, and my thing was I don't actually own a building or anything, you know. I own equipment. It's really like I have a studio at my house, and I was renting a space for like 5 or 6 years when paying a lot of money, owning it, renting it, whatever. You're going to pay a lot of money for a space. And yeah, I was definitely scared at first because I was, you know, working at a job. I ended up quitting that job and I just dove into that full time. And I didn't know what was going to happen, you know, and then I kind of just said, like I said, started speaking positively, and then things just started working out. I started getting crazy booked, and it just ended up working out. And then, like I said, it got to a point where I felt like I wasn't really focusing on my own stuff. So then it just became work. I didn't really enjoy it as much, and I kind of stepped away from that, you know? So now I kind of do sessions here and there when I can. After my other job, I have another job now that I got a baby on the way. So there's
congratulations, dude.
Thank you, man. You know, so I'm at a point in my life where I did it. I know what it's like. If I want to do it again in the future, cool. But I want to get back to focusing more on my own stuff. And I still want to help out the artists I work with. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to turn them away, but I definitely don't take on as many new like sessions and things as much as I was, because I need that time for myself. And I've learned that over the last 5-6 years of just constantly being in the studio 12 to 14 hours a day, pressing the buttons and being behind the screen. Like anyone's going to get burnt out from that, you know? And I've learned that. So it's almost like I'm kind of taking a step back. You know, I got back into just, you know, working a schedule and then just doing my music stuff after work or even before work, hitting the gym before work, and just getting back on a schedule where like works for me, you know?
Yeah. And I think focusing on yourself is so important, dude. Like sometimes it's hard to do that, especially when like there's money opportunities, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I could do this and make the money, but like what? So it's like, so why aren't you? You know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes it just doesn't speak to your soul. Cause I always try to explain to people, it's like the $100 I make as just being Mike Squires is better than the $1,000 I got from like a client. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it hits different because like, it's just your thing. You did it solely by yourself. You didn't need anybody. You weren't relying on anybody. And like that shit is tight. You know
and it's true what they say, man. Like your time is worth more than money, you know? Especially if it's not like, you know, I don't want to say the right money because all money's money, but you know, your time is very valuable. So
I think with kids, it becomes even more valuable.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to learn that soon. But yeah, man, like time is precious, and you know, and it's like, yes, I could make the money on the session, or I could make the money doing X, Y, and Z, but is it really worth my time is what I always ask myself, you know? And not like throwing shade at anyone of like someone that hits me up for a session that maybe I don't want to do, but you got to just look at like, okay, I have this amount of hours left in my day. What is the most valuable for me to do? You know, it's not always going to be that 2-hour session that pops up. You know, it's going to be me sitting in front of my computer and simply just making a beat, making $0 because it's just what feeds my soul. And like, I'm going to be able to sleep at night feeling good about myself because I did something for myself.
Yeah.
You know?
It also, to me, like when you make those decisions, it fuels a fire in myself where it's like, okay, I turned down that opportunity. Now, if you turned it down, you really got to get it together. You know what I mean? So for me personally, it's like, I know what I could have got, you know what I mean? So it's like, what am I doing now to level up?
It's only going to make you grind harder, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, it's funny because it's like, I've been in the game so long, but I still feel like I got that like sleeping on the floor mentality where it's like,
you don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that.
And I'm really grateful I've been able to hold on to it, but I'm like I don't know if you feel like this, But I'm kind of in this mode of like whatever it takes, dude.
Right.
And like I feel like a psychopath sometimes, but I don't know. Like, are you like a whatever it takes kind of guy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how you win. That's how you win in life, you know, whether it's music, whether it's doing whatever you're doing. Like, if you're not going like both feet in, jumping in the pool, like, what are you doing? You know,
Just gotta send it, dude.
You gotta, man. You got a cannonball in that shit because it's like
swan dive.
Yeah, the swan dive might be better.
The jackknife, dude.
Right.
The belly flop. The backflip.
You just have to, man. I mean, because you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out of something, especially if it's like, you know, a passion of yours. And it could be anything, you know. It's got to be like there's no plan B type of thing, you know.
And they're really, I mean, that's the thing too. Like and I think that's where a lot of artists that I know that have had successes is like it was the 1 foot, 1 out, dude. They had the plan B, they had their escape plan, and they got spooked, they got scared. You know what I mean? Because it is a scary industry. You know what I mean? It's like because sometimes, and maybe we could talk on this real quick. You don't know when the next check is coming. You don't know what the next thing is. Like I'm at a point now where I've kind of got a good flow where I got it, but like, you know, there is a period in my life where it was like, yo,
yeah, you're living month to month kind of thing. And I was kind of in that for the last couple of years. And, you know, some people might look at, you know, me going back into a job as like, oh, like he gave up. But I'm looking at this as, okay, sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward, you know?
You got to get yourself right. The foundation needs to be perfect. And like, you really got to solidify yourself to like make the next level play.
Right. And I think the biggest thing for me personally was when I was 5-6 years, just strictly engineering, making money off only music and only videos, whatever. I would feel guilty about working on my own stuff because I wasn't making money and I had to pay rent next month. You know, you get to that point where you're like, how can I turn down this 2-3 hour session and work on my own stuff when it's not going to make me the money right then and there, you know? And it would kind of, that would play tricks with me, you know, because I'd be like, I got to take this session. I need the money, you know? So now I'm at a place where like, I got money coming in, so I don't need to take, and now I can really lock in and focus on like what my end goal is, you know, which is just being able to make music wherever, whenever I want and not have to stress about money, bro. That's what we all want, you know?
That's the dream, dude. That's the goal. If you have achieved that, dude, you're winning. It doesn't matter how many people are looking at your stuff, anything like, and it's not as hard as people might think, dude, because people like think that it's like this unachievable thing. I love telling people this thing because, you know, I'll walk around, someone will recognize me and like, they'll ask me like, yo, like, how are you getting this music thing? Like, how do you make it work? I was like, dog, you know that I make music, but respectfully, you couldn't name a single song of mine. He's like, no, I couldn't. And I was like, dude, there is a way to figure it out. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, I don't want to disrespect you by not. I was like, dude, I don't even care, dude. It's like, I kind of figured out what works in my world, but it's like, that's the key is like figuring out and stop worrying what other people think about you because
100%.
You know I do this, but you couldn't name a song, respectfully. You know what I mean? So it's like
they know you as that, but they don't know anything about it.
That's what I'm saying too. And it's like, I don't like care either way. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying like, it's like, bro, figure it out, dude. I'm telling you, it's not as hard as you think.
For sure.
People that you just need to find the people that will listen to your stuff.
Yeah, and you got to get creative, man, because you know, like I think if you're only like, and this doesn't speak for everybody, of course, but I think if you're starting out as an artist and you're only trying to make money off just your music, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. There's so many other ways to make money.
Let's talk about the hustle and finesse, dude, because you need a little bit of hustle and you need a little bit of finesse to make this thing happen.
There's so many other opportunities for you to make money, dude. You can make money off your streams. If you make beats, you make money off your beats. If you can mix people, you make money off mixing. If you got merch, you can sell merch. If you obviously doing shows, you can sell tickets. Like there's so many opportunities and ways to make money that you can't just rely on streams. Like it's just not the way. Like,
yeah, and as somebody who makes money like on streams too, I'm telling you, it's not the best avenue, dude. It's like
it's not like selling CDs back in the day where you could get $5 a pop, you know?
Dog, I don't even know what the math is on it. Let me just try to think this through. You sell a CD for $10. How many times does somebody have to listen to a song? Like 2,500 times to equate to the one CD? It's like
exactly.
Good luck. You know what I mean? It's like they'd have to be, I don't know how many, if I don't even know what the math is. Somebody do the math and get back to me on this. If someone listened to a song that was, and how long do you have to listen to a song on Spotify for it to count?
I think at least half the song or something.
We'll call it half the
isn't
song. Let's just say a minute. Let me make up some numbers. So let's say you have to listen to a minute. So 2,500 minutes. How to divide that by 60? Like it's hours, dude. And the time that they just clicked order on a CD, dude. Right. You know what I mean? It's like just to put things in perspective. And for me and my hustle too, like even now I'll take on gigs, but I will only take on them if they're like kind of silly. But like I do like a lot of photo and video gigs, and like that's how I came up in the game, and I was able to, stockpile a little nest egg for me where I was like, okay, now I can like do all the plays I want.
But you got to get creative, man. You have to, dude. You got to just find things that like, because some people may only look at themselves as like, I can only write bars and I can only rap or I can only sing. There's nothing else I could do. I think people like that are just closing themselves off to opportunities because there are other things you can do. You just got to be creative.
You're almost setting yourself up for failure because in today's day and age, you can't even be just that anymore, especially like on the independent side. Like if you don't have somebody like puppeting you, like you're going to have to be your video guy. You're going to have to be your producer, your engineer, like, or at least have somebody locked in that's like good. You know what I mean? You got to figure out.
Not everybody has that though, unfortunately. Not everybody has that day one homie who's just going to ride out and do whatever you want for them. I mean, shoot your videos and like not everybody has that, so you have to do a lot of the stuff yourself. And when you get to a point where you're doing it enough to where it's good, you can charge for your services. There's other people who need you, and who would be willing to pay you to do something for them that you're doing for yourself.
Bro, tell me a fact about you that we don't know, dude. I like,
a fact.
Yeah, I don't mean to like change it so deep, but I think like I'm really happy with our conversation. We're great, but there is something I just don't know about you, dude. Tell me an interesting fact that we don't know. Obscure fact, could be unrelated.
Obscure fact.
Secret talent.
Man, that's funny.
Childhood story that's insane from summer camp. Give me something, dude. There's something that I feel it.
I mean, this might not be this insane, but I have a lot of siblings.
Okay, what's a lot, dude?
I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters.
No, that's a lot of siblings, dude.
I guess that's not a crazy
fact, no, this is insane. We need to talk about that, dude. What was it like growing up, dude? That's insane. We should have started with this. Damn it.
It definitely, it was cool growing up. I mean, we weren't all in the same household.
I knew you had a brother from this conversation, but I didn't realize you had.
I got a lot of siblings. Yeah. They're all my dad's kids. So there's only 2 siblings with my mom's side. All the others are half brothers, half sisters. So,
your dad was fucking putting in work, dude. I don't need to
I have a crazy family dynamic. I'll tell you that. A lot of siblings, a lot of cousins. We didn't always like talk growing up, but I think we're kind of at a place where we keep in touch a lot more now. We're adults, and we realize time is precious, and maybe some of us didn't get along, but I think it's, family's everything, man. So it's like, it's one of those things that, like I said, I mean, having that many siblings, it's hard to stay in touch with everybody and see everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot of contact, dude. I mean, I have a sister. Dude, I have a half sister. A lot of people don't know that. It's a random fact, but we have it's sad though. We have no contact. You know what I mean? It's sad and maybe
it happens, man.
Yeah. But it's just weird because we're at such different places in life. You know what I mean? But for my sister who I grew up with, we have a great relationship, and I've always loved her. But even when she I'd always be the fucking snitch big brother that just yo, Mom, Morgan's up to no good. We gotta go do something. You know what I mean? It's
we need an intervention.
Yeah, I'd be the Randall on the playground yard, taking notes and But I think now that she's older, she appreciated those moments where it's oh, you were always just looking out for me.
Yeah.
But
no, it's good.
But
man.
I can only imagine with the 1-in-1 dynamic that
for sure. I mean, it was really me and only my little brother who were the music ones. All the other siblings, they weren't really into the music thing. Not for any particular reason, I guess, but. I don't know. Me and my other younger brother, we kind of just clicked and we just love to do it. I mean, he still does it to this day, but he's actually leaning more into photo, video types.
Oh, that's really cool.
He bought a new camera and stuff.
I view it in the same realm, dude. You know what I mean? It's all connected in my eyes.
Anything creative, man. That's how I look at it, Yeah. Anything creative.
That is a very interesting fact, dude. I wouldn't have guessed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there any have you guys taken trips together, big?
We did one big. One of my siblings wasn't there though, but we did one big family cruise right before COVID, and it was nuts, dude. One of my brothers almost got kicked off the cruise.
What do they do? How do you kick somebody off? Do they just drop a little dinghy and set them to shore?
Crazy, bro. I don't even. He was just wasted. The security guards wanting to fight him and stuff. It was just.
How do you get kicked off? Getting kicked off a cruise is a silly thing, dude. Or it's
I guess they
bring
put
in the boat, dude. the naughty boat.
I guess they have a cruise jail or something. Who knows?
Cruise jail is crazy.
They're gonna cuff them to the pipes like Titanic or something. I don't know.
Damn,
man.
dude. I mean, it sounds fun though. It sounds like the thing is, I'm into shenanigans because I'm always in for the story, dude.
Right.
I will make a bad decision based on the story, dude.
Right.
I'll like, yo, is this gonna be hilarious? Like, should we do this? Like, is this hilarious?
Right.
And I'll just send it, even if I think it's a bad idea, just because. Maybe,
let's see what comes out of this.
Maybe it could be, but I love chaos, dude. Maybe people don't know that either, dude. I don't know if you're like a chaotic person, but like if I see something that's just like falling apart and like miserable over there, like I obviously want to help, but two, I just like thrive in those realms. I'm just like, oh, this is crazy. Like I don't know. I love chaos.
I love that, dude. I love that. I'm definitely more of I'd say I'm more reserved and more in that realm. But.
Yeah, dude. I like, for some of my friends that know me too, like there'll be an event or something and like I'll see the people running the event so stressed out and it's just like, dude, I feed up because you know what it is? Because I've been in that position too. Right. So it's like, I'm like, thank God that's not me today. I mean, it will eventually be me, but but
sometimes when you have, I work well under pressure too, though. Sometimes it's just a pressure based thing, and some people can't handle the pressure sometimes.
Yo, let's talk about that, dude, because pressure really does make diamonds, dude. I feel like I've become like invincible, dude. Like at least that's how I've been feeling lately. Like there's like very few things that you could throw at me that I'm not gonna just like handle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like we said before, sometimes you don't want to overextend yourself, but when you put that healthy amount of pressure on you, like it's only gonna make you stronger. Like you said, like you feel invincible. Like it's true, because when you grind through those pressure-filled situations and you come out on the other side, it's like, yo, I just fucking did that.
You just proved to yourself that it is possible.
Yeah, put anything in front of me, I'm gonna tackle it. Like and I think when you thrive in those situations, you only get better the next time around.
And I think as a creative, that's like the most, and I mean dangerous in a good way, but that's like the most dangerous place you could be, because it's just like,
it's all or nothing now.
Yeah, and then and everybody who saw you just go through that thing, they're just like, yo, that guy is a fucking animal, dude. He's just a force to be reckoned with. That's like, honestly, that's a goal. Like I want to be that animal.
Yeah,
dude.
And that respect level goes up, man, from your peers. Not that like it's something that we need to live for, but I think, a lot of times people, like, you want the respect in a way, like you want to know like your hard work and like you grinding through those pressure-filled situations was all worth it.
You hit the nail right on the head, because I always tell people respect is one of the most important things in the music industry. It's like, because respect overlooks your numbers. Respect overlooks everything, dude. Where it's like, if someone respects you, like, it doesn't matter what your numbers are. It doesn't matter. Like, respect is the most important thing. And that's like, dude, I've gone to like, not that I like, I've never fucking like, no, let me not lie. I've gone out of my way to make sure that people like, if there was something bad happening, like, or there was like something, I always try to course correct and make sure I'm a positive person and just like it goes back to communication. If you're good at communicating, you can pretty much navigate every situation, and then respect comes from that.
You got to be transparent with people, man. I mean, if there's certain situations that maybe you thought you could handle at one point, and then maybe you got to just tell someone like it is, like, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or I don't think this is the best situation. I think when you're just upfront and honest with people, they'll respect you.
I got a couple more questions, but this actually brings me to, have you ever had a moment where like you lost stems or something, and you lost a file or something that you had to like go to somebody and be like, yo, I fucked up?
Yeah. No, that's happened. Probably over the past couple of years. When I left the studio, I kind of just lost a lot of stuff from the old computer. Thankfully, it wasn't like super detrimental. But I've even lost a lot of my own songs. I had a lot of songs that, it just got lost in like files. Cause a lot of times when you download stuff from the internet and you don't put them in the right files, and then you put them on a hard drive, now it's missing files, and it just doesn't work out in the session. I'm sure you know how that is.
An absolute nightmare, dude.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst. And then you're like, fuck, what do I do now? But yeah, you got to just, like I said, it comes back to communication. You got to just be transparent with people. Like, listen, man, it happens. This is technology. It's not the end all be all. I look at myself as an artist. I'm always going to make more music. So this is just a minor speed bump is how I look at it.
No, and that's how I think, like I said, communication is always key. And that is a great way to look at it too, because some artists like that might like,
It might be detrimental to their career, depending on what it is in their eyes, you know? Because you could look at an artist and be like, dude, like you're a beast. Like you'll make 10 more songs next week. But some people, you know, depending on what it was.
Bro, that was the one.
That was the one, right, exactly.
That was the one you don't understand.
Like they knew, they had this vision, you know?
And the truth is the one is never the one, dude.
Right,
It's like, It's always the one you don't expect, dude. So.
And I always say this, dude, it goes back to even with the content, you know? There's videos that I spend hours editing and I'm like, this shit is going to get millions of views, right? 2,000 views. And then it's like you post something random and that's the one that goes crazy. It's like you just never know, man.
Yeah. What's some advice that you'd have for people out there? It could be career-based. It could just be life. What's some road bless advice, dude?
Just work hard, man. It's super simple. I think just work hard, man. Like that's the best thing. And when I say work hard, it's such a general thing to say, but you know, if you're an artist or you're a producer or if you're neither of those and you just, you know, anything, like if you just work hard and you wake up every day knowing that you gave it 100% effort, like things are going to fall into place. Like I just believe that. And it could take a week, it could take a month, it could take 10 years. But if you just grind and work your ass off every day, like things are bound to fall into place when the time is right.
I agree, dude. And back to the 100% effort thing, dude. Things aren't always going to work out, but knowing that you gave it your all will make you feel so much better about it.
You can't be mad about that. You know, it's just if you work your ass off for, it could be years on something and maybe it doesn't work out at the end of it the way you thought, it's like it just wasn't meant to be. And I think if you could just look at it in that aspect of like, it wasn't meant to be, doesn't mean that it wasn't meant to be forever. It could have just been at this particular time. It wasn't meant to be. Like, it's not your time yet, you know? And I think a lot of people give up at that crucial moment on certain things when maybe all it was going to take was another year, you know?
Couldn't have said it better, dog. If you had, you know, one message, what's Robless's message to the world? Like, if you were to be remembered for one thing, dog, what would it be?
Believe in yourself.
It's a classic, dude, and it goes a long way, and it's way easier said than done, you know?
Yeah.
What's something that you've done to, like, really boost your confidence and believe in yourself? Like, what really has gotten you to this spot?
I mean, me personally, I had an experience when I was around 20 years old that I started working for this company called Power Home Remodeling. It's obviously a home remodeling company, and I was knocking on doors doing sales, and that kind of changed my like mentality because it's one of those things where they like imprinted that in your brain. Like you're not going to get sales at these people's doors. Like if you're not just a positive, like, you know, gung ho type of person. Like, and I think that translated to almost everything in my life because
you're like, watch me.
Yeah. You're just built you're just resilient to the rejection is what it is, you know? And I think the more rejection you can take from people, you're just gonna have this armor around you that like
monster, dude.
Yeah, that it doesn't matter who tells me no, like I'm gonna get a yes from someone, or it doesn't matter if I fail at this, I'm gonna learn from it and I'm gonna win at it the next time, you know. And I think that at like 20 you're kind of at that age where you're still like developing, and I didn't really know myself at that point, and like I knew I wanted to do music, but I think that translated into my career of like, I'm 16 or, you know, over 16 years doing this. And I just have that resilience of like, you know, I'm not famous or anything. Not that I care to be, or my numbers aren't crazy to where I'm making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, but I just have that resilience of like, it is what it is. Like the rejection doesn't even matter. Like I'm just going to keep going, you know?
And that's where the real monsters are made, dude. When nobody can tell you anything that affects your trajectory, dude.
Right. If you just have a vision and you have like a set goal in your mind, or you just have a set like vision of who you are and who you want to be, you're going to become that at some point.
Bro, do you think everybody who I hit up for the 50 States project said yes right away, dude?
Right.
You know,
most likely not.
I have so many, dude, I can't wait to talk about it. The amount of people that reject, dude, I probably took over 1,000 rejections on this project.
Right.
Like,
and you kept plugging.
You have to, dude. It's like, dude, I'm excited to tell, but like, it'd be artists that like, but some of them I'm like, oh, well, I'm even grateful that artist even responded to me. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Where it's like, I didn't even think that was possible. But then there's on the flip side, it's like, we made some cool things happen just from reaching out. You know what I mean? So it's like
nothing good ever comes easy, man.
Nothing good ever comes easy.
And at the end of this, when you drop it, all that rejection and all the process
doesn't even matter, dude.
Literally, and you're just gonna be like, I did that. Like
did that fucking thing, dude.
Right.
Getting close, dude.
Right. It's coming up, man. I'm excited for you, bro.
Thank you, dude. Well, I'm excited for you, bro. What you got coming up?
I've been working on some stuff, man. Like I said, now that I'm back locked in, I got the pressure off me of trying to make money at XYZ all the time with music. I've been working on some stuff, man. I've been collabing with other producers. I got some stuff that I got to hop in and record. I've been networking a lot more with different people, and I just think that that's important, man, especially as a creative. Like I said, it's lonely, like when you're just trying to do it yourself. Like you got to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Well, you got some friends in Stanford, dude. Come on down and hang out, dude. I'm not that far away.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, just come hang out, dude. I'm here all the time, even if you want to just like sit in or just play some stuff.
Definitely, man. No, I appreciate that, dude. Listen, I'm always around to, just chop it up, man, because there's always going to be something good to come out of just having a good conversation.
Oh yeah, and sometimes just bouncing the ideas it just starts to make sense sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's important to have those people to just like call and just be like, yo, is this a good idea? And there's like, it's like 90% a good idea.
Right.
You
and
know
somebody that
like,
could be honest with you about it is the biggest thing.
Yeah, yes men are fucking dead to me, dude. I don't like, if you say yes to me to everything, just know that I know that you say yes to everything and you're dead to me, dude, respectfully.
Right. For sure. But it is crazy the amount of people we kind of both know, and it's, that's how it always is in Connecticut though, I feel like.
Even just the music industry as a whole, dog.
Right.
This thing is so small. Everybody knows everybody. You'll like go to somewhere like, yo, how the hell does that person know that person?
Exactly.
And then you'll be like, oh, we did Brazilian jiu-jitsu back in the fucking day, dude.
He broke my pinky toe back in the day.
Yeah, so everything's all connected. Everybody knows everybody. That's why it's important to be kind to everybody, because everyone knows, and that goes back to reputation and respect, and
100%.
That's everything, dude. But Ro, I'm gonna bring this to the end zone.
Yes, sir.
If people want to connect with you and find you, how can they?
You could look me up on all social media, Ro__bless, and that's RO bless.
Let's go, dude.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on the pod.
Appreciate you
having me. Felt
having
like a
me.
great conversation, dude. I feel like we hit a lot of stuff that I normally don't talk about, which is nice.
Awesome, man.
Refreshing, dude.
Yeah, same.
Well, thank you for coming on, dude. Thank you for making the trip, and that's it, dude. No
Yes,
grand
sir.
ending. This is just how it ends, dude.
Definitely, brother. Appreciate you having me, man.